You don't think it's weird, do you? Lily asked as she slid the vase onto the windowsill and glanced nervously up at the sky before gently adjusting the lily to face the morning sun. She held her breath and carefully withdrew her hooves, as if the lily were as fragile as the vase. Not at all, said the mare on the couch while she looked over the top of the notebook levitating in front of her. I think it's healthy. Goldfish was very important to you. She still is. Lily smiled. The sunlight falling through the vase painted a picture on the windowsill wherein a goldfish lingered in a puddle of blue light, surrounded by sparkling bubbles. No, she said, turning around and shuffling toward the couch. With the vase behind her, she couldn't see a single flower in the entire cottage. She glanced through a window to her left and spent a few seconds watching the morning breeze ripple over the blossoms in her field. I mean, is it weird for you? The mare traded her notebook for a coffee mug from the end table and squirmed into a more attentive posture. Of course not. I'm happy to share your heart with the memory of such a wonderful pony. I mean, Lily bit her lip and climbed onto the couch. You give me so much of yourself, and here I am tending a shrine instead of giving anything back, instead of making a place for you. She smiled, a blush showing through her yellow sunshine coat. But I do have a place here, Lily, and you do give back. You touch the lives of so many ponies every day. Just look at how many ponies wear your flowers like a smile. Lily shook her head, then realized that she'd reached up to straighten a lily that wasn't behind her ear. That doesn't matter. It doesn't last. No pony remembers yesterday's flowers. Don't make the mistake of thinking that just because something isn't permanent that it doesn't matter. She took a sip of coffee, then held the cup between her hooves and started into the black surface inside. Nothing lasts forever. You know this better than most ponies, but those moments of happiness, they add up to a lifetime filled with love and friendship. I suppose. Lily's ears began to droop, and she felt a hoof on her chin. She looked up. And you've made me happy. You give me a flower every day. We both know it won't last until the end of time. It will be difficult times, but you know what? Those beautiful flowers on your beautiful flank mean that you will fill each moment with a little bit of beauty. Happy moments spring up around you like, well, wildflowers. We've all got life in front of us, and I think that matters. Lily sniffled, but couldn't help smiling when she looked into those big blue eyes. After a deep breath, she buried her muzzle in the mare's neck and sighed. You fix everything. Now that isn't healthy, she said with a giggle. When I go home from work, we're going to have a conversation about dependency. Lily shivered as the other mare's warmth left her. She heard a slurp of coffee and the sound of a notebook being slid into a saddlebag. Hope? What is it, sweetie? Hope said, turning around with her hoofs still on the open door. Lily looked up and tried to keep her lip from quivering. Don't, she croaked, then cleared her throat. Don't go to work today. Hope took a couple steps into the room, leaving the open door behind her. Why not? Is something wrong? The sun didn't rise on time today, and when it did, it was... Lily waved her hoof in the air. Weird. Hope took a deep breath and smiled. We talked about this. This is why we got rid of all the clocks in the house. You can't sit up every morning just to make sure the sun rises on time. Major life changes can trigger flashbacks to traumatic events. This is the first time you've let anyone in since Goldfish, and you're scared. That's all this is. But I'm not imagining things, Lily said. She wanted to run to Hope, to slam the door and hold on to her, but she felt glued to the couch. She leaned forward, reaching toward Hope as tears collected in the corner of her eyes. The sun rose twice, I swear. I had lunch with Roseluck yesterday, and she said the Appaloosa train never came in. And Derpy said it's been 2 days since any pony heard from Cloudsdale or Cantor. Shh, Hope said as she pulled Lily into a hug and began stroking her mane. You're so scared, but you're going to be okay, because you can find a pathway to achieve your goals. And because you have agency to help reach others your goals, you only have to be in control of one thing. What happens to Lily? Lily shook her head and spoke between trembling breaths. Don't go. Please don't go. Hope gently pried Lily's hooves from around her neck. When I get home, I'm going to make you tomato soup and grilled cheese sandwiches. I'll even bring you some flowers. Everything's going to be fine. I promise. Lily squeezed her eyes shut and listened to Hope's hooves shuffle across the floor. Just before the door closed, she thought she heard Hope sniffle. Hope lied. She had never come home. It hadn't been half an hour later that Fluttershy had knocked on the door, spreading word about T-Rex and warning every pony to stay indoors. Lily had known then exactly what had happened. Not the how, obviously, but the what. She hadn't been surprised to hear bursts of magic, the sharp crack of old-growth timber, and the roar of crumbling masonry roll across the landscape. It wasn't a long trip home. Hope could have made it if she hadn't stopped to help a group of ponies pull a family out of a collapsing apartment building. Lily had walked this path so many times that she recognized the dirt in front of the house and didn't bother looking up. She shrugged the empty basket off her shoulders, letting it bounce unseen into the grass by the road as she opened up her mailbox. Without even looking at the mail, she grabbed the stack of envelopes in her teeth and spit them directly into the trash can by her front door. Lily stepped into the tall grass and glanced at the sky. Any minute now the horizon would blossom into a million colors, then settle into evening's indigo. She hadn't missed a sunset since the night the guards had come to take her to the morgue. They'd already put her broken body in a coffin. Lily had stared for a long time. So long, in fact, that the guard had turned around and left in respectful silence. He knew the answer. There were so many evil things running around the world. Escaped from Tartarus, returned from the moon, or just randomly wandering out from the Everfree. And still, hope remained in the bottom of the box. 1 in a million, every pony had said, as if they had forgotten that they'd said the same thing about goldfish. "Hey, Lily!" Lily jumped. She hadn't heard any pony approach. When she turned around, she saw Derpy hovering just above the ground, with a board game in her hooves. Lily began shuffling back toward the road. "Hi, Derpy. What's going on?" "Oh, well, it's Friday night and you haven't been to game night and, well, since, we thought we'd bring game night to you." Derpy pointed back the way she'd come. "They even brought stacks. Just like the good old days, right?" Lily glanced up the road. Rosehook and Daisy had just crested the last hill and were leaning on each other while they caught their breath. Daisy waved. Lily twisted her neck and looked over her shoulder at the cottage. The vase still sat in the window with dried, crusted mold where the water used to be. The lily inside had dried out before the petals had a chance to fall off, leaving it little more than a scaffold for long abandoned cobwebs. Lily wondered whether any spiders had chosen to remain in such a desolate place. She turned back to Derpy just as the other girls trotted up, and pushed a lock of hair behind her where a lily should have been. All 3 mares looked at Lily with warm eyes and tense half-smiles. Lily saw them glancing back and forth between her and her dark cottage, and wondered how much dust had accumulated on the latch handle since the last rain. It almost looked like one of them was about to rush forward and give her a hug. "That sounds fun, but Rose stepped forward and reached a hoof into her saddlebag. "Lily, we've been friends for a long time. I've never seen you go so long without picking a flower for yourself, so I chose this one, special for you. I even did my best to trim the thorns." She pulled her hoof out of the bag and unwrapped a single rose the color of lifeblood. "Why don't we go inside? I can put this in some water and I think it'll really liven up your cottage." Lily forced her eyes to the ground. She heard Derpy land while Daisy shuffled her hooves. The rose traced a ghostly after-image through her peripheral vision as it waved in the fading evening light. Rose took a halting breath. I know you didn't eat lunch or dinner. We can make you something to eat. We can talk all night just like we used to, or if you don't want to talk, we can play games." Her hoof holding the rose began to tremble. "You need this, Lily. And forgive me for being selfish, but I need you. Please, Lily." Lily raised her head and let her vision roll over the lines of the rose. Each of the thorns had been shaved off, without bruising the stem or exposing the pale flesh below the skin. The kind of rose that a pony would place on a coffin. Her breaths were measured and slow, even as her ears rang with rushing blood and echoes of Rose's words. The rose blurred as Lily's eyes lost focus. She saw Rose, sitting on a dusty couch, clutching a withered rose to her chest. Lily blinked, looked up, and tried to ignore Rose's quivering lip as she took a step away from the rose. Lily took another step and mumbled, "I have a lot of work to do." She turned and trudged into the meadow, stopping here and there to poke at the dirt or examine a leaf. As she neared the thicket of rue beneath the oak tree, the last light of day caught a single pink-white petal poking out of a deep hoofprint in the soft soil. Lily kicked some more dirt on top of the lily, burying it completely. Rose's voice rang out from the road. "They're wildflowers, Lily. They don't need tending." Lily cringed, then forced her heavy hoofs forward. She pushed their way through the thicket without looking back, slipped under the tarp, and lay on the muddy bedroll. The river's incessant murmuring drowned out any noise from the other ponies, so that Lily didn't know whether they had chosen to stay or to leave. The scent of rich, damp earth filled Lily's nostrils as she watched the image of a moonlit lily dancing in the river's bend. She couldn't tell from the fragmented and blurry reflection whether it remained on the stalk or had fallen to the ground. Perhaps she would take it to town with the rest of tomorrow's flowers, or leave it to wither and rot in the field. She could decide later.